More than half of the businesses in South Africa that were surveyed recently in various sectors are not convinced that the tough economic times are behind us. This is according to the recent RMB Merchant Bank and Bureau for Economic Research's Business Confidence Index, which shows that sentiment has fallen in the third quarter, with 61% of respondents are not satisfied with the prevailing business conditions. Siobhan Redford is an economist with the RMB Merchant Bank. She's here to talk to us more about their findings. Siobhan, thank you very much for your time. You know, as we are speaking right now, I understand that you are going through load shedding. It came back yesterday as we were hearing the bad news of a contraction in the second quarter. You are saying that even though the sentiment has fallen so much in record times, you are saying the times are not that bad when you're looking at what is going to happen to the economy in the next 6 months.
Absolutely. You know, this has been a second consecutive decline in terms of quarters, but there are a couple of things. One of them is that it does seem respondents do think that business conditions going forward are going to be positive. The BER has actually improved since the second quarter, but also gives the big picture, and that conditions aren't necessarily bad as the overall composite picture. And then we do see some detail which does hint that conditions have been better for businesses than perhaps what the response has been.
Everybody is looking at the third quarter of the GDP, which we are currently on, and whether that is going to contract as well, which would put us in a technical recession. This data is from the third quarter, data that you've collected with over 1,200 executives in major companies in South Africa, and it looks towards the future. What are the things that businesses and business owners are worried about right now?
Well, I mean, as you said in the introduction, it will be top of mind for so many executives. You know, even for those who do have ways of continuing their production or their operations during periods of load shedding, you know, it's expensive. They are not expensive. Of course, it's positive because they continue to be able to bring in income. And then there are those who don't even have that. And so load shedding definitely continues to play a very important and pivotal role in the outcomes for economic activity. Adding to that is obviously the fact that prices have become higher, particularly for fuel and food. And so, you know, when you have, you know, limited income, or, you know, if you know, as most of us know, you know, it's not that we don't see our price changing from month to month or week to week as, you know, as other prices change. We tend to have a settlement about once a year. And so as a result, it does mean that the surprising does mean that people might have had to shift expenditure, you know, in favor of things like food and fuel, which are necessities, and away from other kind of what we call discretionary goods and services. And then obviously another thing, adding also contributing to this for those of us who do have debt, is the higher interest rates. So that's definitely, these are definitely issues which are hitting us now and probably for the next couple of months. And then even we can then start worrying about what's happening in the rest of the world in terms of a potential slow economic activity and even possible recessions in some of our major trading partners.
Siobhan, before I let you go, in a couple of weeks we will hear from the Reserve Bank Monetary Policy Committee. What's your take in terms of the rate at which the interest rate might be increased? I want to put your head on the block on this one.
Yeah, it is definitely a tricky question, and one that I am glad I can only speculate on rather than having to make a decision upon. But we do think that they're probably going to push interest rates up again by 75 basis points. The risk very much in our mind is more that it would be, for a 50 basis point. So not a 100 basis point, which was highlighted as a potential at the previous meeting. However, we think that, they're going to continue being quite hawkish. They're going to continue highlighting concerns about inflation expectations and wage price spirals. And that's because, as soon as you got wages and, general prices going up at a certain rate, it's going to keep going. It's going to keep happening. So, wage demands are very high. Businesses then expect it, so they push their prices up to cover that. Then, because prices have gone up, then wage demands are high to cover prices, higher prices and so on and so forth. And so they're going to really want to try and prevent that becoming entrenched across the whole economy, knowing that much of the price pressures in this country in particularly have been supply side driven. And that is what's going to lead them to continue this front loading of policy normalization. But that said, we do think that our situation isn't necessarily as bad as some of our major trading partners, and that, we should see a pause in the hiking kind of path quite soon.
Siobhan Redford is an economist with the Rand Merchant Bank. That's all we have for the time we have for you with you today, saying that confidence among businesses is not good, and we should expect the Reserve Bank in a couple of weeks to increase interest rates at least by another 75 basis points.